Hey everyone, welcome back to the Poplar Report. We got a whole bunch of breaking news updates to get out to you guys. We got a warning from the U.S. State Department not to travel to Russia. Questions are what's going on with that. Warning U.S. citizens of arbitrary arrest if they do travel to Russia. We're also getting an update out of the Norwegian Intelligence about what's going on with the Russian fleet with their use of tactical nuclear weapons. Very concerning with that. We also have two more trains that have derailed in addition to the one in East Palestine. We'll give you a little bit of an update on what's happening with the water situation. We're also going to be going over the amount of cattle in the United States. Beef herds are down dramatically. We're going to give you some numbers on that. We've been talking about that for a while. It is a slow-moving train wreck, and yeah, I guess that one was pun intended. But we'll also be talking about a pandemic that is spreading across American high schools, and when you start hearing these numbers, you are going to be, I mean, it's rough. These numbers are just ridiculous, and they're true. And when you start putting that into this grand scope of things, just realizing how far gone our country is. Let's jump into these things. First off, this video is brought to you by Genesis Gold. So if you have your money in retirement accounts and it's in stocks and bonds and you want to get into something more secure because you're concerned about stocks and bonds, physical gold, physical silver, coins that belong to you. Yes, they have to stay in a repository because it's a retirement account. But when you take distribution out of there, you're not taking distribution of cash, you're taking distribution of coins, your coins out of the depository. If you want to talk to Jonathan and his team, check out the description down below for their phone number, and they'll be able to answer all your questions. All right, folks, so the U.S. State Department has issued a warning for U.S. citizens to immediately leave Russia if they are in Russia and do not travel to Russia due to arbitrary arrest and harassment due to the ongoing conflict in Eastern Europe. This is a new warning. I mean, they've issued much softer warnings previously, and so it begs the question, what's about to happen that the U.S. State Department is suddenly so concerned about? And as we're talking about arbitrary arrests and harassment from the government, you kind of say, oh, so it's going to be as bad in Russia as it is here in the United States now. Arbitrary arrests, yeah. But we have to ask the question, what is next? What's happening that they're saying that things are going to change and get much worse for potential U.S. citizens in Russia? Is there another step about to happen in the U.S. Stepping up their involvement in the conflict in Eastern Europe? Are they hearing chatter out there that Russia is going to be going after U.S. citizens more? Or what's going on? But that's a big indication that something's about to happen. The U.S. State Department does not like to sit on things when U.S. citizens could be warned. So that's usually the first inkling we get of something going on. We see that days before the news hits, and so be watching the news because something could be going down that we don't know of. Speaking of the Russians, Norwegian Intelligence just issued a report confirming, one, that Russian ships are now carrying tactical nuclear weapons for the first time since the fall of the Soviet Union. So we're not talking about some, oh, okay, yeah, we kind of knew that. No, Russian ships have not been carrying tactical nuclear weapons since the fall of the Soviet Union. There are now ships in the ocean deployed with tactical nuclear weapons. Of course, they've had strategic nuclear weapons to take out cities and such like that, but tactical ones are smaller and are intended to be used against forces, against conventional forces. So if we come at them with aircraft carrier, they could come at it with a nuke. If we come at them with tanks, they could drop a nuke. And that's basically the concern with that. And they also talk about in that report how it has become evident that tactical nuclear weapon usage is integral to the strategy of any large-scale conflict with Russia. That they are planning on using these tactical nuclear weapons because they realize that they are outmatched when it comes to naval forces, and so that they will use those tactical nuclear weapons very early in a conflict much as the United States planned to do so in the Cold War. This is very concerning that if we see an outbreak of hostilities, the nuclear weapons could be deployed very quickly by forces. Once again, these are weapons targeted at military or ships or troops. These are not like city killers. That's not the point of them. Though with the deployment of the Poseidon nuclear torpedo, that could be something else out there, because they say that the purpose of that is to create tidal waves that can wipe out whole cities along a coastline. However, I stand by my assessment that that's not the true purpose of the Poseidon. The Poseidon is meant to take out aircraft carriers, and it's made to take out our ballistic missile submarines. All right, moving on to two more trains have been derailed, one in Houston, Texas, and one in South Carolina. Of course, this is right after the derailment of Palestine, East Palestine, Ohio. That one has continued to be, just as they're now saying, the largest ecological disaster in U.S. history. The chemicals from that raining down into the neighboring water systems. There is a much larger concern now over the water systems in the area, and a lot of testing is going on right now. They're saying that they are detecting chemicals in some of the water systems, but they believe that the filtration system should take those chemicals out and should not be reaching the people at this time. However, they're finding lots of dead fish all over the place in lots of different creeks and streams which feed into these rivers. So the concerns remain. The American Water, which covers the water over 24 states, they have a water intake in the Ohio River, and they have said that they have an alternate intake water intake that they can use, that they've installed so that they are prepared in case they have to shut down their main water intake on the Ohio River downstream from there. If they have to do that, that will affect 500,000 residents. That's their water from, the pipes coming in. They believe, American Water is confident that they will be able to continue service even if the water is contaminated in the Ohio River. Of course, if the Ohio River becomes contaminated, that's going to affect a whole lot of people downstream as those chemicals make their way downstream. So this is big. Is the governor of Ohio basically saying that so far the water does appear to be safe to drink. He says, but I would be drinking bottled water if I was in the affected areas. So not a big vote of confidence from the governor there. Moving on to the cattle herds in the United States. Cattle head in the U.S. are down below 90 million. Now this is all cattle. It was at 95 million pre-cough cough in 2019. So from 95 million down to 90 million, that is a big drop. Once again, as people say, well, how big of a deal could it be? We had an 8% drop in the United States of egg production, and then the price of eggs in some places as much as tripled. That's just the math of things. How much does the price have to go up before people stop buying whatever the product is? So the question is how high does the price of beef have to go in order for people to stop buying beef? Up till now, we've actually seen elevated culling. So basically, more beef is flowing onto the market still, and that's why you're not seeing prices increasing. However, their increased culling also marks the fact that means the beef herd is dropping dramatically. From January 1st this year, all the way back to the previous year, we've seen a 4% drop in beef herds. Okay? 4% drop in beef herds. Now, we saw the price of eggs triple in some places from an 8% drop. Okay? And when this hits, it's going to be like a whiplash. It's going to be the whip cracking. We're going to go from a slight oversupply of beef, to suddenly a dramatic undersupply of beef. The whip crack could be 10%, 15%, or 20% drop in beef production. That is a possibility. And when you see that, what will that do to prices? Well, it's going to be determined by how quickly people stop buying beef. The price will just keep going up until people stop buying. We're going to need a 10 to 20% drop in beef purchases, so we're going to see that drop dramatically. Also, a lot of the beef that is sold out there fresh has a shorter shelf life than the eggs out there. All right, that's coming from AgWeb, by the way, if you want to look it up yourself. CDC is reporting a high school epidemic. This is just heartbreaking, really. If you know parents who have high school kids, 30% of high school girls in 2021 seriously considered ending themselves. Seriously considered. 30% in 2021. There was an all-time high in 2011 of 19%. Still think that there's no consequences to virtual classes and isolation. No, nothing there, huh? That's just heartbreaking. I hope you don't just hear that as a number, but then think about that. 1 in 3 high school age girls seriously considered in that year, 2021. That's heartbreaking. That tells you the status of our education system. That tells you the status of our family structures. All these things that were made to empower women. Are they empowering women? Why is the rate of considering that so high right now? Higher than it was in decades long past when they were being oppressed. Now, it's not to say that everything was fine back then, but what I'm saying is we have experimented on our youth, and this is the result. They literally don't want to live anymore. Friends, a whole bunch of you kind of criticized me going out to Kentucky and covering the revival that's breaking out there that has now spread to multiple universities. Youth these days need hope because they don't see any. The biggest news out there right now is the despair amongst Gen Z and any ray of hope there may be. I promise you, you're going to look back and see the change that happened, that's starting to happen over in Asbury, at the Asbury Revival in Kentucky, as it spreads, as hope spreads. That may be the most influential, most impactful story that this channel has ever covered. In line with that, I do want to just mention once again that we will be holding a revival prayer service over on my other channel, Bold Faith Bible. If you're not already subscribed over there and you are interested in Bible studies or meeting up with fellow believers from all over the country, we're going to hold that prayer service at 8 p.m. tonight, Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be praying for our country. We're going to be praying for each other and interacting as best we can over our live stream. All right, folks, if you found this video useful or helpful, please do check out another video from me right here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. God bless you all.